General advice warning. The content presented in this presentation is intended for informational purposes only and provides general advice only. It does not take into account your personal objectives, financial situation, or specific needs. This information should not be the sole resource when making investment decisions. We strongly recommend you seek the advice of a financial professional.
G'day everyone, welcome to Bulls vs Bears, episode 17. We're going to talk a bit about the US market. There's not a lot to talk about there, apart from it's just grinding higher. Some geopolitical tensions with Venezuela, and looking at commodities, especially silver. My name is Finn Judell. I'm the host today, and I'm with my co-host Richard Nader. Let's get into it.
Good afternoon.
So what are we looking at? US markets continuing to rally. What's going on there, Nader? It just keeps grinding higher.
Look, we saw what we thought was the start of a downtrend or a dip in the market. In my sentiment, I think that's fairly come to an end now. We're seeing really what I think is the start of the Santa rally. It's pretty common around Christmas time, leading up into it. We usually see a bit of a rally on stocks as people sort of finish up their years and then go on holidays. So I'm starting to see a bit of a common theme of that, and I think this chart speaks quite well for it. You can see those green candles building at the end there.
Yeah, look, we still could be not out of the weeds yet. Obviously, I'd love to see a rally into the new year. It would be beautiful. But yeah, we'll see how we go, obviously.
I think it just depends on news flow at the moment. If you see a consistent flow of negative news, I don't disagree with you there. I think we could see a inflection point and we start to move back down. But if no news is good news sort of thing, if that continues to come through and this Venezuela topic that we're going to discuss later doesn't escalate, I don't really see anything that'll send the market on a downtrend. So that we've got the opposing views there, but I think it's a good point now where we're seeing buyers come back into the market.
I'm just playing the devil's advocate. I don't want to sound like a bear. Don't be caught out being a bear, because historically that's the wrong side to be playing. I mean, if you look at the market over 20 years, you'd be out. But look, it's I'd say the likelihood of it grinding higher and continuing to grind higher through Christmas is probably pretty good. But look, you never know.
Absolutely. So earnings this week. Now, look, there's a lot of companies there, not a lot of companies that we're going to be watching closely. What we're looking at, CrowdStrike, Salesforce, and really Snowflake is something that we're not really recommending at the moment, but something that we pay attention to. And Lululemon, just because it's had such an interesting story over the last year where it was so badly impacted by the tariffs, and just want to see have they recovered from there, has it continued to sort of degrade that stock. So waiting to see those results there. We've got a current recommendation on one of those stocks. So if you want to know what that is, give us a call. We're happy to give the recommendation out to members. But yeah, fairly confident over most of those earnings just based on, the earnings season we've seen up until now. I don't think that earnings result has changed from when we spoke last. I think it was 85% or something of earnings have beat or met expectations. So I think that'll continue with these companies. There's no reason why they won't meet the earnings that, previous companies have.
Yep. So we've got CrowdStrike on tomorrow. We're feeling pretty confident about that one, are we?
Yeah, just based on that space in general. So we saw Zscaler's had a really good earnings. Palo Alto had a really good earnings. It's got an impact from AI, but it's not solely relying on it. So, it's just a good space to be in, I'd say.
Yeah, no, good one. And that's a recommendation we put out a couple of weeks ago, or if not last week even. So yeah, it'll be good to see how that one goes. Got a bit of a positive outlook there. Look, next we're going to talk about the potential of invasion in Venezuela. Obviously, we've had Trump pretty recently come out and say some fairly aggressive tweets. And look, this is not the first time he said this. I mean, let's just remind ourselves he's also threatened to invade North Korea, Iran, Mexico, Nigeria, Panama, Greenland, and let's not forget Canada. He did threaten to invade Canada. But look, potentially this time is different. The massive difference here is that Venezuela is actually the largest oil reserve in the world. So
Yeah.
it definitely fits the bill for countries for the US to invade, give them a little taste of freedom, as they say. But yeah, look, Venezuela is also in the top 1% of the most corrupt countries on earth. And to give an analogy, they were given almost like a lottery ticket, but they were just too incompetent to cash it in. They've got a fantastic set of resources, and they just failed to capitalize on it. So yeah, I think it's a big opportunity for the US to come in, and have a pretty dominating uh, geopolitical role there. And who knows what the strategy is, but obviously they're starting off with potentially an invasion. They've got US naval deployment assembled all around the Caribbean, so they're definitely looking uh, pretty aggressive.
They
And
fired on a few boats, I believe, in the last month or so as well,
yeah,
that they thought
right.
were carrying drugs out of the Venezuelan ports and things like that. So
Well,
they've been,
that's I suppose the scapegoat, right? Or not. Look, I'm not going to say scapegoat, but that's what he's
reasoning.
claiming, right? That's his reasoning. Um, but then if you look at the data as well, Mexico, Bolivia, and Colombia are kind of the biggest issues. So it makes you think, why is he
Uh,
kind of singled out Venezuela?
uh-huh.
I think that the oil is a pretty good reason. But
Yep.
he's obviously not mentioning that publicly. But look, the strategy would probably be invade, and then look to install a pro-US government, drill and export, and then profit, right? That's the US playbook.
If it
Um,
actually comes into play.
that's
Like
right.
as
It's
you wrote there,
really
you can
speculative.
see he's threatened it multiple times. I know
Yeah.
Greenland around the point of the election was, a big bit of contention that they said they wanted to take it. He says a lot of words. Let's see if he actually actions them.
He's not bad at creating uncertainty, but it's come to a point where uncertainty has just become the norm. And the market doesn't really react anymore.
Yep.
So I think everyone just kind of calls it bullshit. And then, if it actually happens, then that's the real news, right? The announcement has become noise at this point, which is fair enough. It's very much fair enough.
Be very interesting to see if it does occur.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if it happens this year or he's going to wait till the new year.
Yeah, you never know with this guy. He's very unpredictable. It's very unpredictable. But silver obviously is skyrocketing. It just went past all-time highs. Um, and look, we had a trading halt on the CMC futures desk over the weekend, I believe, or perhaps even earlier. Don't quote me on the date. And there was a lot of conspiracies around, oh, this is all tied to, the silver run. If you look on Twitter, there's a lot of conspiracy theories as to why that might have happened. I mean, in reality, it was a cooling fault, apparently. But essentially, the buy button was turned off. The buy button and the sell button were turned off.
Wow. Okay.
Silver on the weekend. So yeah, that caused a bit of people to think about the possibilities as to why, and it could go down a bit of a hole.
Mhm.
But look, I'm pretty grounded in the idea that I think it was just it was an issue on the server side, with their cooling, is what the reports say. So I tend to agree with that.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, look, that's pretty much it for this week. The notes on the US, Nathan.
Not really. We've got consistent earnings coming out over the next couple of weeks. I think next week we'll start to see a bit of a ramp up in number of, high value companies that we see posting earnings. I don't remember off the top of my head what they are, but I put the table together last week, and I do remember there was a few companies on there. So I think a full week of reporting. So we'll be keeping an eye out to see if there's any opportunities there to be putting out as recommendations.
Ready to upgrade your investing? Discover Mosaic by MPC Markets. For market news, investor education, top stock picks, podcasts, and real-time broker chat. Everything you need, all in one simple app. Sign up now for your 1-month free trial and experience investment content you can understand and actually use